I needed to reach people. That was my job, pure and simple. Sales. Cold outreach. My target list was a mile long, full of company names and job titles, but the actual contact information? That was the constant, gnawing problem. LinkedIn gave me names, sometimes even direct phone numbers, but email addresses were a different beast. I spent hours guessing. John Doe at Acme Corporation, was it John.Doe at acmecorp.com? Doe at acmecorp.com? John_Doe at acmecorp.com? I'd try all the permutations, one after another, sending them into the void, hoping for a hit. More often than not, I'd get a bounce back. Undeliverable. Address not found. Each bounce was a tiny punch to the gut, a wasted effort, a dead end. My conversion rates were stagnant. My manager, bless his heart, was starting to ask pointed questions about my efficiency. I was frustrated, genuinely. There had to be a better way than playing email roulette. I tried general Google searches, of course, typing in Acme Corp contact email. But that usually just led to their generic info at acmecorp.com or a web form that disappeared into the ether. Not what I needed. I needed specific, direct emails for specific people. One Tuesday morning, during a coffee break, I was venting to Mark, a colleague from another department. He just shrugged, stirring his sugar. Just Google it, man. You'd be surprised. I scoffed. I do Google it, Mark. It's useless. He just smiled. Not like that. You gotta know how to Google it. He didn't elaborate, just walked off to a meeting. His words stuck with me, though. How to Google it. That afternoon, I decided to try. My current target was Sarah Chin, VP of Marketing at Innovate Solutions. I knew her name, I knew her company. My usual guesses had all bounced. I opened Google. What did Mark mean? How to Google it? I started thinking about patterns. Where do people put their emails online? LinkedIn, sometimes. Company websites. News articles. My first attempt was simple. Site, linkedin.com. Sarah.Chin at innovatesolutions.com. I figured if someone had publicly listed that exact email on LinkedIn, Google would find it. Nothing. Then I tried a broader approach. Site, linkedin.com, email, Innovate Solutions. This was more promising. It brought up a bunch of LinkedIn profiles associated with Innovate Solutions. I scrolled. Most didn't have public emails. But then, I saw one profile, a junior marketing assistant, who had listed her email in her About section, first initialist at innovatesolutions.com. Specifically, Doe at innovatesolutions.com. A light bulb flickered. If a junior employee used first initialist, maybe Sarah Chin did too. I tried Shen at innovatesolutions.com. I sent a test email. No bounce. I waited. A few hours later, I got an automated out-of-office reply from Sarah Chin. It was her. I had found her email. That was it. That was the turning point. It wasn't about guessing anymore. It was about finding a pattern. I started applying this new method systematically. My next target was David Miller, head of product at Global Dynamics. First, I tried site, linkedin.com, email, Global Dynamics. I found a few public profiles. One person, a sales manager, had first name last name at globaldynamics.com. Another, an HR rep, had first last at globaldynamics.com. It seemed first last was a strong contender. I tried David Miller at globaldynamics.com. Sent. No bounce. Another hit. I started building a mental library of common formats. First last at company.com, first initialist at company.com, first name at company.com, first _ last at company.com. But it wasn't always that straightforward. Some companies were trickier. I was looking for someone at Quantum Leap Technologies. I tried the LinkedIn trick, but found nothing. No public emails from anyone at that company. So I broadened my search. I tried site, quantumleaptech.com, email. This searched their own website. I found their Contact Us page, which had support at quantumlyaptech.com and sales at quantumlyaptech.com. Not helpful for a specific person. But then, I found an old press release in their news section. It announced a new product and listed a media contact. For press inquiries, please contact Jane Smith at quantumlyaptech.com. There it was. First initialist at company.com. I applied it to my target, Mark Johnson, their CTO. Johnson at quantumlyaptech.com. Sent. Success. The random part of this journey started to emerge. It wasn't a linear path. Sometimes, the most obscure searches yielded gold. One time, I was trying to reach someone at Pinnacle Solutions, a notoriously private company. Their website was sparse, their LinkedIn profiles locked down. I was stumped. I tried sitenews.com, Pinnacle Solutions, email. I figured if a journalist had interviewed someone, they might have included a contact email. I found an article from a regional tech blog, an interview with their CEO from 3 years ago. At the bottom it said, reach out to the CEO directly at co.name@pinnaclesolutions.com. This was a new one, role.name@company.com. Not exactly what I needed for my specific target, but it gave me a crucial piece of information. The domain was pinnaclesolutions.com. And it showed they weren't afraid to use in their email addresses. I went back to my first last and first initialist guesses, now with more confidence in the domain. I found my target's email through a combination of that clue and a lucky guess that first last was the standard for non-executives. Another time, I was looking for someone at Horizon Innovations. I tried all my usual tricks, but nothing. Then I remembered seeing a company directory in a PDF once. I tried file type, PDF, Horizon Innovations, email. This search specifically looks for PDF documents containing those keywords. And there it was, an old conference attendee list from 5 years ago, hosted on a university website. It listed several employees from Horizon Innovations, along with their work emails. The format was first name at horizoninnovations.com. Simple, direct. I applied it to my target, and it worked. The challenges were real, though. Some companies, especially smaller startups, used generic emails for everyone, or relied heavily on personal connections. For those, Google was less effective. I'd have to resort to finding them on Twitter and hoping they had an email in their bio, or looking for their personal websites. Then there were the companies with multiple formats. A large financial institution, for example. I found first.last@bank.com for their marketing department, but firstinitial.last@bank.com for their investment banking division. This meant I had to be more precise in my searches, trying to find an email from someone in the same department as my target. Site, LinkedIn.com, finance department, bank name, email. It added another layer of complexity, but it was still better than blind guessing. I also learned about the old data trap. Sometimes I'd find a perfect email format from a press release from 2010. I'd send my email, only for it to bounce back. Companies change their email systems, merge, or rebrand. So I started looking for recent data, prioritizing anything from the last year or two. To streamline the process, I started using a simple email verification tool online. I'd generate a few likely formats, plug them into the verifier, and it would tell me if the syntax was valid and if the domain existed. It wasn't foolproof. It couldn't tell me if john.doe@company.com was a real person's email, just that it was a plausible address for that company. But it helped filter out the obvious errors before I even hit send. The payoff was immense. My outreach numbers skyrocketed. My bounce rate, once a source of constant dread, plummeted to single digits. I started landing more meetings, more demos. I closed a major deal with Apex Innovations, because I was able to directly reach their VP of Operations, whose email I'd found through a very obscure industry forum where he posted a technical question years ago, signing off with his work email. It was a long shot, a random find, but it worked. I started building a personal database. A spreadsheet with company names, known employees, the discovered email format, and a confidence level. If I found multiple examples, the confidence was high. If it was a single, old source, it was lower. I even started to predict formats for new companies based on their industry and size. Tech companies often favored first initialist. Larger, more traditional companies often used first.last. My manager, who had initially been skeptical of my Google obsession, started asking me for advice. "Hey, you're good at this email thing. Can you find the head of partnerships at Synergy Group for me?" I became the go-to person on the team for email formats. I trained new hires, showing them the tricks, the search operators, the importance of pattern recognition. The initial frustration of guessing emails was a distant memory. The black hole of contact information had been illuminated, not by magic, but by knowing how to ask Google the right questions. The random searches, the unexpected finds in old PDFs or obscure forums, the systematic approach of testing and verifying, it all coalesced into a reliable, repeatable process. My sales targets were consistently met, and the stress of finding contacts was replaced by the satisfaction of a well-executed search. The problem of how to email someone was solved, replaced by the more productive challenge of what to email someone. All arguments closed.